my Total Gym XLS, and although in most of my videos I'm trying to show how basically everybody can do basically anything with a base model Total Gym. For example, I've shown how to use the rope attachment, but I've also shown that you can mimic the rope attachment by just using the plain Total Gym handles. I've shown that I have a barbell attachment, and you can use a barbell attachment, or you can just use any broom handle or pole or whatever else and loop it through the handles to have the same effect. Because of that, most of the time when I show different exercises on the Total Gym, I'm showing how you would do it with just the stripped down basic Total Gym. And that's actually not how I use it. Because I have a background with a bit of metal fabrication, a little bit of engineering and things like that, I've actually modified my Total Gym and I've made my own custom attachments so that when I use it myself, I can get a more natural, or basically I want my workouts on the Total Gym to be more like using the machines at the gym or something like that. So I want to take this video and just show you some of the attachments that I've made, some of the modifications to the Total Gym that I've made. These are all very basic, very simple modifications. My dad, who is a lifelong mechanic and very into engineering and things like that, very technical thinker, one of his favorite sayings was KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it simple, stupid. And that's how I view things. Sometimes it's easy to run away with all of the ways that you can overcomplicate something when really the most simple solution might be the best. And in terms of people watching, that means you might also be able to replicate it yourself much easier. So I'm going to show you a few of the modifications that I've made to my Total Gym personally that you might be able to do yourself, or maybe you can keep in mind for future projects, or maybe you'll just find it interesting, or maybe you won't like it at all. Maybe you'll think it's a waste of time and it's terrible and you'll dislike the video. I hope not, but we'll see. All right, now for me personally, when I'm using my Total Gym, although it is very simple, very easy, and somewhat intuitive to understand when you have to invert yourself with your head down, there are a lot of instances where I prefer to have a more traditional upright position. So for example, I want to do side lateral raises, or I want to do bicep curls, but I don't want to have to flip upside down on my Total Gym so that I can get the resistance to come from below me. I've actually created my own pulley system for the lower section of the slide board that just basically reroutes the cables so that you're pulling from the bottom. This way you can stay upright. The same pulley system can be used in the upper part of the slide board so that instead of having to sit up and then use your abs to stay pushed forward when you're doing pressing movements, there are times when you're pressing enough weight that you cannot counter it with your abs. No matter how strong your core is, you physically don't weigh enough to counteract the amount of resistance you're pressing on. So what would happen is that you end up just tilting backwards when you try to press on the bar. So in order to actually lay on the bench and press directly out like a more traditional bench press, you can use the same pulley system. And all I've done is I've taken, again, a standard 1-inch post, the same 1-inch tubing that would be used for adding weight plates. And I've made this one about, it's probably a little less than 5 feet high. Comes up to my chest, so a little less than 5 feet high. I need to actually measure it, but basically it's very, very simple. It's a simple 1-inch tube, so the same clamps will fit on it. It's chrome plated, so it's going to resist oxidation. And all I've done is I've taken these little hooks, these I can't think of the actual official term for what these are, but it's just a piece of hardware. You can use the eyelets, you can use a variety of things, but this just basically gives me a place to hook my pulley, and I can then take this out and put it in different positions on my 1-inch post to change the position of my pulley. And whereas I use these pulleys most often, these came off of that Bowflex that I had bought just for the parts. I use these just because they spin freely and they're actually designed for weightlifting use. I'm actually going to not use these. For this demonstration purpose, I'm going to use these small little hardware pulleys because these are very cheap and very easy to find at any hardware store. So just to show that you can use a more generic pulley that you'd find at a hardware store, this is what I'll be using for the video rather than these actual official like Bowflex ones that I'm using, since I know that these are harder to come by, and if you did find them, they'd probably be more expensive. Basically, on this 1-inch post, I have holes drilled at different increments. So there's one here, so it's very, very close to the slide board. This clamp represents the point where I can slide it in, and then once this clamp hits the slide board, I know that the pole is centered. So this would put the pulley very, very close to the slide board, right in line with my shoulders. This one puts that a little bit wider. This one, all the way at the very end, actually places the pulley way out where my arms are outstretched, so I can do things like more traditional flies or cable crossovers. Cable crossovers where the weight is coming from out away from me rather than directly behind me, so it just kind of changes the angle from which the weight is coming. But I'll put this in and kind of show you how it works. All right, so because this is a 1-inch tube, it'll slide directly through the slide board, just like the traditional weight tube does when you want to add plate weight. And then I take my eyelet, or one of them, and I just place it in the exact same spot on this side as it is on the other side. In this case, it's all the way out, so I can show you how I do cable crossover. All right, once the eyelet is in place, I take the pulley, and in this case, I'm using, again, just the very cheap, very common, available everywhere hardware pulley. This is not going to work quite as well as the actual purpose-built pulley. It's not going to be quite as smooth as one of the pulleys that comes with the Total Gym itself, because the diameter of the pulley is not as large, but it does work just to demonstrate that it doesn't have to be a special high-dollar, special order sort of part. You can pick this up at any hardware store. I'm just going to take this and hook it right over the eyelet. Then I'm going to take my handles. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of using an extra rope or an extra cable, which you could use actually to give you more range of motion, again, to make this as simple as possible and show you that you don't have to go out and buy a whole laundry list of things, you can actually use the cable that's already attached to the Total Gym. So in this case, I'm going to disconnect the carabiner and the handle itself. Then I just have the cable. I'm going to loop it through the pulley. Once it's looped through, I'm just going to reattach my carabiner and handle. Now, if I just move the pulleys from the outside to the different positions, I can actually change the amount of slack I have in the cable and also what I can do with it. So if I want to do a more traditional barbell bench press, for example, I can move the pulleys all the way to the inside so it's right up against the slide board, attach my barbell attachment, and then do a more traditional barbell bench press while laying flat on my back. All right, so now with the pulleys moved right here, right alongside the actual slide board itself, it puts the pulley coming from directly behind my shoulder or right underneath my armpit, depending on how high or low you are on the slide board. And I can attach my barbell attachment and actually lay flat on my back just like I would on a bench press, and press directly out in front of me with a barbell just like I would on a more traditional bench press. As I said before, the other benefit is that you can actually take this exact same tube that I've made and put it in the lower portion of the glide board, so you can actually pull weight up from beneath you and you don't have to go upside down. My favorite things to do with this are like upright rows or side lateral raises or just traditional bicep curls. Those are all things that I really like to do, and feel very, very good to do on the total gym because of this constant tension and no variation in the resistance. But I always have to go upside down. So when I put on a high incline and I add some extra weight and I'm going for a heavy set of upright rows or something like that, it feels great to my muscles, but then when I get up, my face is red and I have a bit of a head rush because I've been basically inverted. I've been upside down the whole time. So I prefer now using this because it allows me to stay upright with my head above my waist and above my heart, and just sit on the total gym or lie back and do my movements in a more traditional way without having to flip upside down, which because of that reason I also think not only makes it easier and a little more intuitive, but probably also safer. The only difference though is you can't use the same cables from the top of the total gym and reroute them all the way to the bottom because you just don't have enough space. So I actually have these pulleys with extra cable that I ran through there as an accessory just for the lower half of my total gym. This additional cable hooks on to the total gym cables at the top, and I just then hook the total gym cables to one side of this cable, and then I hook my handle to the other side, and it gives me the extra length I need to be able to do a full range of motion coming from the bottom of the total gym without running out of space. I'll show you how a few of the movements look right here with that. All right, you might see I'm getting kind of flush. I'm very sweaty. Not only am I working to do these sets and kind of demonstrate exercises, but on top of that, I'm on the third floor, the top floor of this building, and it is currently very, very hot in Taiwan. It's coming up on summer. It's a tropical island in Southeast Asia, and there's no AC up here. So it's very, very hot. I'm gonna cut this video there. I've got a whole list of things I've done over the years to get the most out of my total gym and to make it even more intuitive or more effective than it already is. I'll do another video later. I'll probably do a few more videos where I show various modifications I've made. For example, in the next video, I'll probably show you how I use a leg attachment. This is actually meant for a traditional weight set. This is a leg extension / leg curl combo set that you use to extend or curl your legs, and I have modified this to use on the total gym so I can lay back on the slide board and hook my legs around this thing and use it the same way you would with traditional weights, but using my total gym, which has been very, very effective. In my videos, I show myself doing leg curls and leg extensions without it because I know most people don't have this. But for these videos where I'm specifically showing modifications, I'll show how I use it personally when the cameras are off. I hope this has been helpful. I actually am I'm now a member of the Total Gym Addicts group on Facebook. I check every day to see if there are common questions, common grievances, issues people are having, and I try to make notes of it so I can remember what to make videos about. I wanted to reach out and say thank you to Thomas, Tiffany, Chris, Carl, Samantha, and James. You have all reached out and made donations to help support the channel and by extension support me and my family. I appreciate it very much. It helps more than you know. I appreciate it more than you know. It's been very much appreciated. It's because of your generosity that I've been able to devote more time to coming up with more content for this channel. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's very helpful. If anybody has any questions, please leave a comment. I am on the Total Gym Addicts board again, and I do check daily. So if I start noticing trends in common issues people are having or common questions, I'll try to address them here. Other than that, I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for your support very, very much. Thank you to Thomas, Tiffany, Chris, Carl, Samantha, and James. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it. And until next time, hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Thank you.